you for traveling, many of you probably far and long distances to be here. And so I just really wanted to acknowledge that. And we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the March 26th meeting of the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability. We're going to go around and do a roll call. But before I do so, I want to ask that you please place your cell phones on silent mode, remain seated, and if you will be using any small handheld devices, please use them in a way that doesn't interfere with anyone's ability to see or hear the proceedings. We'll begin by calling the roll to establish a quorum. Commissioner Driver, Commissioner Gottlieb, Commissioner Minor, Commissioner Piemonte, Vice President Ruby Navarrillo, President Terry is present, and Commissioner Wortham.
I'm present
With
online.
three
Not sure if
of
you all
the
can hear me.
members of the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability present, we do not have a quorum. However, we can move forward with updates, but we won't be able to take any actions at this meeting. The next item of business is public comment. If you would like to share something related to the Commission's work on public safety and accountability, you have a few options. You can speak at a public meeting or submit public comment in writing by emailing to communitycommissionpubliccomment@cityofchicago.org, or bring a copy of your comment to a commission meeting and give it to someone on the commission or the commission staff. People who wanted to speak were asked to submit their names in writing earlier today. A member of the commission staff provided those names. Because this time frame, I think we only received 12 comments. Usually we accept 10, but we will respectfully, especially with the late start, allow all 12 people who signed up an opportunity to speak. Each speaker will have 2 minutes. And when you provide your comments, please state your name and spell it for the record. With that being said, our first 3 speakers are Trey Frosk, Gia Escarino, Win Wang Huang. Excuse me if I'm mispronouncing it.
Hello. I'm Trey. That's spelled Treyfrosch. As a member of Carper's Immigrant Rights Working Committee, I want to speak in support of CCPSA's potential recommendation that the OIG conduct an audit of CPD's implementation of the Welcoming City Ordinance. Every quarter, CPD is required to submit a report of compliance with the WCO. Now, these reports are generally 2 pages long and state only when CPD received a detainer request from ICE. There is no information available about closed or open investigations of WCO violations. Without OIG's oversight, we will continue to see bare minimum compliance from CPD. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Gianna. I'm a member of Carper's Immigrant Rights Working Committee and a member of the Southwest Side community, which is an immigrant community that has been hit the hardest during Operation Midway Blitz. I'm here on behalf of my community members to demand that CCPSA pushes CPD to publish a monthly report on any 911 calls that were made by federal agents to CPD, any dispatch orders to scenes where known federal agents were carrying out operations, and any other forms of communication between ICE and CPD. These reports should include the names of any officers found to be collaborating with ICE, the names of their police commanders, and the district they are located in. A list of known collaborators should be published monthly to repeat offenders or districts with persistent issues can be addressed. The video footage from the shooting of a member of my own community who was almost murdered by ICE as she was shot 5 times, Marima Martinez, explicitly shows the white-shirted CPD officer telling CPD officers to move away and not record. That is explicit collaboration. And who are those officers? Who is this commander? We cannot allow this information to be sequestered and hidden by CPD and addressed internally without public participation. We are also demanding an end to pretextual traffic stops. So we are demanding that the end to pretextual traffic stops. CCPSA has taken up investigating this issue but has not took action. And we already know that Silverio Villegas Gonzalez was murdered at a traffic stop while dropping off his child from school. Marimar Martinez was shot 5 times by ICE in the Brighton Park community. And we are demanding that you hold CPD accountable, as we know that they are collaborating with ICE. And this puts our community significantly at risk as they're both dealing with ICE and CPD. And we know that the commission could do this and hold them accountable.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nguyen Hoang Thuong. That's NguyenhoangThuong. English name Kayla, Kayla. Following last month's panel, we looked at the BIA's quarterly and annual reports for any indication that they have investigated WCO violations. Besides the fact that BIA would be investigating itself with no agency oversight, we believed in the panelists that when they spoke at the last meeting that the investigations are referenced in these reports. They are not. There are no mentions of the WCO or ICE in the BIA reports. Operation Midway Blitz produced many WCO complaints, which should have been forwarded to the BIA per these panelists. However, with the lack of reference to these investigations in BIA reports and the lack of information in WCO compliance reports filed last year by CPD indicates that these complaints are not being forwarded or that CPD is not investigating them. I am encouraged by the CCPSA at least putting on the agenda today for the OIG to audit CPD's and BIA's compliance for BIA's investigation or, looking into these WCO reports and CPD's compliance with the WCO. However, the failure to have quorum today and to push back again this key vote to have meaningful action on this is unacceptable. We're moving into March now. These initial complaints were put forward in January, and I think that this is a meaningful action that could have been taken that has once again failed to have been done and has failed to be pushed forward to another meeting. So, yeah.
Thank you. We have a virtual comment by District Councilor Sam Schomburg, and in person, we have Christopher Solis Pareda, Scarlett Johnson, and Ash Pantoja.
Hello, this is Sam Schoenberg. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Sam Schoenberg. It's Schoenburg. I'm a 19th Police District Counselor and one of the leaders of the nominating committee to the CCPSA. And I wish to speak today to comments Commissioner Minor made at a press conference earlier today criticizing the nominations process for the CCPSA. I can state unequivocally that the nominating committee employed an exceptionally thorough and fair process to select nominees to the commission. Unfortunately, one now former member of our committee, District Councilor Lee Bielecki, violated that process. After Commissioner Minor applied for a new term, he unilaterally took it upon himself to go to Commissioner Minor's home at night, apparently to check on her application information. Mr. Bielecki's actions were wrong, disrespectful, and intimidating. And the nominating committee recognized that and voted overwhelmingly to censure him. That censure resolution was a first for our committee and is publicly available on the nominating committee's website. Mr. Bielecki resigned from the committee the day after he took his rogue actions toward Ms. Minor. But after that, he played no further role in the nominations process. Following his resignation, the committee selected Commissioner Minor as one of 15 top candidates to interview out of more than 50 applications we received. The committee gave Commissioner Minor's application full and fair consideration. At the committee's public vote for nominees, however, no member of the committee moved to nominate Commissioner Minor for a new term. That includes two individuals who spoke at today's press conference criticizing our process. Two things can be true. First, Mr. Bielecki, Commissioner Minor, principle and wrong. Second, in the end, Commissioner Minor simply did not have the support of a minimum of 15 members of the nominating committee to get renominated. But 6 other Chicagoans did have that broad support. Young, a name most people here will recognize as a victim of police misconduct and a trailblazer for serious reforms. It also includes 4 youth under the age of 25. Now, Commissioner and those supporting her have called for the mayor to reject and disqualify all of those nominees. Nothing in the conduct of the committee warrants that result. I stand 100% behind our fair process, as do the vast majority of nominators. And I would ask that Commissioner Minor recognize that, and also that the mayor select from these nominees who are exceptionally qualified to serve out the purposes of this commission. Thank you very much.
And current and former Oath Keepers still remain on the CPD force today. Recent ordinances have failed to address the white supremacist affiliation with CPD. There's no reason to assume they would treat immigration enforcement in a manner inconsistent with their stated worldviews. We cannot be a welcoming city where bigots are employed by any municipal agency, least of all the CPD. Participating in any kind of hate group should disqualify someone from service on the CPD given the high stakes of both criminal and immigration law enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Following last month's panel with the OIG and the COPA chief, we took a look at the reports both panelists pointed to when asked about ongoing or past investigations into welcoming city ordinance violations. Although both panelists claim that in this issue, their agencies have investigated for years, there is no mention of these investigations in their reports. While placing the onus on the public to seek out this information is inherently problematic, the fact that this information is completely absent once sought defeats the purpose of these panels and makes it clear that the transparency in welcoming city ordinance enforcement is not a priority.
Thank you.
My name is Ash. I'm here with the Immigrant Rights Working Committee of Carper, and CPD crowd control during immigration enforcement activities legitimizes and encourages ICE's extrajudicial kidnappings and recognizes the violations of federal law. In Chicago specifically, ICE has a pattern and practice of detaining people without warrants or probable cause. I have seen this happen in my neighborhood. Being protected by a line of CPD officers allows them to carry out these. Thank you. Being protected by a line of CPD officers allows them to carry out these illegal detentions with little public accountability. In Chicago and other cities, we have seen that local law enforcement emboldens ICE and it results in injuries to the public. If the federal government wishes to carry out immigration enforcement activities in Chicago, then their own resources should be sufficient to manage all of the following consequences. The people of Chicago should not have to worry about aggressions from their own law enforcement as they simultaneously face the violation and brutality of federal agents.
Thank you. Our next 3 speakers, District Councilor Beth Rochford, Moy Hernandez, Taiwan Sims.
Hello, Beth Rochford, Rochford. I'm here just to make sure that we're clear about the record of what has happened with the special hearing that we have called for. The district councilors sent a letter to the commission on November the 13th asking for a special hearing, and we're very explicit about what things we thought needed to be a part of that hearing. We then had our first meeting with the commission on December the 11th. And at that meeting, what I heard was that the commission had done no work in that month towards getting this hearing set up. They had not really read the letter because they kept asking us, what do you want? What do you want? And we said, we want a meeting, we want a hearing, we want experts, we want the superintendent, we want the district commanders. And we did not feel that there was any urgency in the commission to actually provide what we have asked for. So we submitted petitions that the community asked us to do to have a hearing. We are now going to have that hearing on April the 2nd, which is a major holiday for most Christians and Jewish people who are the majority of people in the city of Chicago. I think that shows clear disrespect for the community, for the district councilors who presented those petitions and have been working diligently on having this hearing. I unfortunately got close to a quarter of the petition signatures, and yet I can't be there because I need to be at church that night. I think the commission and the staff should be ashamed of themselves for holding that meeting on that night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Moy, M-O-Y. I am part of the Immigrants' Rights Workers Committee in the Chicago Alliance Against Racist and Political Repression, otherwise known as CARPER, and I'm a member of the Southwest Side of Chicago. The Bureau of International Affairs has continually failed to properly investigate the matter of white supremacists, oath keepers on Chicago's police force. How can we trust that internal investigations will hold these white supremacists, their fellow boys in blue, accountable? In Chicago, we have seen time and time again that CPD fails to properly investigate and hold officers with misconducts, officers who murder, who brutalize Black and brown communities, accountable. That is why the people of Chicago fought so hard to establish the Civilian Office of Public Accountability to ensure that these investigations are handled independently. Oathkeeper investigations must be transferred to COPA immediately. We demand that CCPSA hold CPD accountable for collaborating with ICE.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening, Commission. Good evening. So for the last, thank you. May I start over? For the last maybe, I don't know, however meetings that I've attended, I've tried to express to you all about a case 25120458301 and case 25120869869 where I was falsely arrested down at 121 North LaSalle. I guess after so long, I've now the smoking gun right here. So I received a letter from BIA, and it's funny that he just verbatim said what the letter say. He said, and this is what it says. This was, what's his name said? It says, the Bureau of Internal Affairs has completed a thorough investigation of your allegations of misconduct by CPD. He said that verbatim just now, but they haven't. And I even got recording of Inez and Hink saying that they would continue the investigation. I came to you all because I needed help. You said that there would have to be systemic issues, and there are. I gave Adam, please, the paperwork I would like to be given to Commissioner Terry. What's your name, sir?
Aaron Gottlieb.
What's your name, madam? Okay, commissioners. Also, Commissioner Minor told me that I would need 4 people to agree with it from the commission. I'm sure that you all have heard what's going on, so there would be no problem. Also, LaKenya White from COPA. I came to COPA first, so I gave it also to LaKenya White and also to the CCPSA because I would like this taken care of or expedited. It should be. seeing as I did the work and have been doing the work and been diligent. Please help me. And these people too, CARPA. I have the paperwork for you all.
Thank you. The next three speakers, Louise Carthart, Clandette B, and Lee Bilecki.
Hi, my name's Louise Carhart, Louisecarhart. I'm also a member of Carper's IRWC. I'm here because I was at last month's meeting and we had a panel where the panelists were the head counsel from the OIG and the head of COPA. And from that meeting, what I gathered was that we needed to go onto the OIG's website and COPA's website and look at reports and figure out what has been done about the Welcoming City Ordinance. We went through all of those reports. We went through the Welcoming City Ordinance reports that CPD issues every quarter. And none of them had anything about investigating ICE collaboration. We know that COPA has received complaints, and according to the panel from last month, those complaints should have been forwarded to the BIA, which then should have been reported in the WCO compliance reports. And there's none of that in those reports. Those reports just contain when ICE sends a detainer request to CPD. It doesn't explain what CPD does with the detainer requests. It doesn't say whether they are associating those detainer requests with open cases. We're kind of just given data and information. The OIG, we spoke to them as well, and they said that they don't interpret that data or do anything with it. So just the public comprehension of these reports is going to be very low. And then the public facing components of our accountability measures are telling us to go back to these reports. So there's just a gap in information here, and we're not able to bridge that gap without public measures. And if the public measures are pointing us back to these reports, that gap is not bridged. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, thank you, commissioners. Firstly, I'd like to say that I second calls to address strongly, swiftly, and vigorously the white supremacist elements within law enforcement. This is a very serious issue, and at the same time that we have people associated with law enforcement gathering intelligence in gathering intelligence about Black people and trying to undermine the city's efforts to move towards justice, that is extremely alarming. This type of behavior is extremely unacceptable, to be gathering intelligence on Black people trying to make this city better. And with that in mind, I hope that this commission will take seriously the thought of continuing its work on surveillance by speaking out against and calling for action against the Zero Eyes AI visual gun detection system that's been deployed on the Chicago Transit Authority. Everywhere a commissioner stands their 2 feet is a strategic venue through which they can communicate with the public and with key and critical stakeholders. So you don't need to wait for a bureaucratic process or procedure, or for the right perception of political capital or political forces to come together. You don't need to wait for a critical mass of this, that, or the other. These are issues that you could push on right now as commissioners, because everywhere you speak is a strategic venue.
Thank you.
Good evening, all. Lee Bilecki, 22nd District Counselor, former member of the nominating committee that sat you guys up here. I'm here to respond to a video. I guess there was a press conference this morning and a letter sent out by District Counselor David Boykin. David Boykin is the chair of the 6th District Council, who hasn't shown up for one of his district council meetings in a year, but still remains to get a stipend. Talking about the events of the 17th of February. I have admitted to the commission, I admitted to the commission, to the district council, to the nominating committee, that I did go to the residence building of Javier Minor to verify her address. Apparently, commission members did know that she lived there, but that wasn't properly conveyed in our nominating committee, at least not to me, that I felt that there was an issue. None of our minutes, none of our bylaws prohibit me from doing that. Do I regret going there? Obviously, it's created a lot of aggravation for the staff of the commission and the nominating committee. I stand by the statement that was released by the commission today, talking about the process of the nominating committee. I held myself responsible. I was very frustrated that day at the goings on at the nominating committee. And if you'll indulge me a few extra seconds, since Sam got like an extra minute, I will explain what I'm talking about. The process is we got 53 applications. 51 applicants submitted resumes. 51 submitted resumes. 2 did not. One was a youth counselor for the South Side and Commissioner Minor. We questioned that. Members of the staff sort of went around and said, well, she didn't really have to submit a resume.
Thank you, Lee. Excuse me. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Lee. What was So I want to, excuse me, Mr. Sims. Thank you. We've reached the end of our public comment period, and thank you again to all of our speakers. We do value your input. So the next topic on our agenda is going to be our new business. And the first item that we're going to discuss is going to be our report on, give me one moment. Oh, it's going to be our report and updates. And so I'm going to read the report in the absence of one of my colleagues. So the community input has played a key role in the commission's work on the traffic stop policy. Community input has been gathered throughout citywide listening sessions, commission meetings, focus groups, and online feedback. Last April, CPD proposed new traffic stops policy, and the commission developed an alternative. The 2 drafts are similar in many ways, and there were some significant differences. All community input is documented and reviewed to identify themes, and the commission has received a wide range of responses. And so the commission continues to engage with traffic stop policy development and will continue to seek and use community feedback to inform policy discussions. The commission continues to participate in negotiations on the stipulation that would incorporate traffic stops into the City of Chicago's consent decree with the Illinois Attorney General, which requires CPD reforms and training, policy, and supervision with oversight by a federal judge and court-appointed monitor. The Illinois Attorney General's Office, CPD, the Commission, and the Independent Monitor continue to meet to try and reach an agreement to incorporate traffic stops in the consent decree. These are confidential settlement negotiations, so we can't discuss the details, but I can report the discussions are ongoing, and I believe progress is being made. And if and when the parties come to an agreement, we will be sharing in an upcoming public meeting. So next, I will provide an update on a special meeting the commission will hold next Thursday with the Superintendent of Police, Larry Snelling, to discuss CPD's roles and responsibilities during federal immigration enforcement activity. We'll talk with the superintendent about CPD's policy, training, accountability systems that are meant to ensure compliance with the relevant laws and policies, including the Welcoming City Ordinance and any related CPD directive. We'll also talk about how CPD implements those rules and whether they are being followed. If there are problems, we explore possibilities to change laws, policies, training, and accountability systems. It is important for all of us to understand what is and is not allowed, what CPD is required to do in these situations, and who is responsible when there appears to be a violation. The next meeting is next Thursday, April 2nd, at Thomas Kelly College Prep High School, located at 4136 South California. The next topic are strategic priorities. At our January 29th meeting, the commission voted to adopt 7 strategic priorities to help guide the commission's work. Those priorities included finalizing traffic stops policy and traffic stops consent decree stipulation, advancing preventative, proactive, community-based, and evidence-based approaches to public safety, including approaches that involve organizations outside of the police department, enhancing the quality, fairness, and consistency of investigative outcomes in police misconduct cases, advocating for best practices to improve clearance rates with the focus on violent crimes, advancing best practices in community policing, advocating for comprehensive officer wellness programs and policies that identify the support in mental health and physical well-being of Chicago Police Department members, and engaging with community, the mayor's office, to strengthen where needed the policy and accountability around a federal immigration enforcement and the department. Since the January meeting, we have received questions about strategic priorities, including how they will be used and how they were chosen. Commissioners will share some of the questions and answers. So I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Gottlieb.
Thank you, President Terry, and thank you everyone for being here and for your commitment to issues around public safety and police accountability. I want to name that I share your frustration that we don't have a quorum today. It's unfortunate we can't take important votes because of that. And I agree with the public commenter who said it's unacceptable. In terms of strategic priorities, we've been asked to define a commission strategic priority. A commission strategic priority is a high-level objective that we choose in order to guide our decision-making, policy development, and planning, and to help make sure that the commission's work is aligned with both the requirements of the CCPSA ordinance and expressed community needs. A second question we've received is, why did we decide to adopt strategic priorities? We think that adopting strategic priorities will make the commission more effective and impactful. There are always many issues that the commission could work on. The strategic priorities help focus and guide our work over time. The priorities involve longer-term commitments to significant issues that may require months or years of work. The priorities also encourage all of us to think strategically about all the tools that we can use to make progress on an issue we prioritize. So when we select a strategic priority, we'll explore all the tools the commission can use to advance that priority. Community members have also asked about how the commission will use the strategic priorities. The commission can use all the tools it has under the ordinance in order to help make progress on a strategic priority. For example, the commission can use its annual goal-setting process and authority, its policy-making process and authority, its annual review of the CPD budget, its community education and engagement function, and its authority to make recommendations to City Council and requests to the Office of the Inspector General. We've also been asked how the strategic priorities differ from the Commission's annual goal-setting process with CPD, COPA, and the Police Board. The goal-setting process is a very important part of the Commission's work. The ordinance requires that each year, in January, the Commission establish goals and expectations for the Superintendent of the Police Department, the Chief Administrator of COPA, and the Police Board President. The Commission uses the goals as a tool to keep the heads of each agency accountable to the Commission and the community. Through the goal-setting process, the Commission sets measurable objectives for the Superintendent, Chief Administrator, and Police Board President. The Commission also reviews how much progress the Superintendent, Chief Administrator, and Police Board President make in achieving the goals. Strategic priorities are mostly broader than annual goals, but the goals are one tool we can use to advance some strategic priority objectives. Right, so big picture, the strategic priorities are these larger aims, and the goals are things that could potentially be used to advance those larger aims. Another question we've received is, how did the Commission choose the 7 priorities it voted on? The Commission looked at a lot of sources and relied on a lot of information to come up with its priorities. Some of these inputs included individual and collective commissioner priorities and recommendations, priorities proposed by district counselors, ordinance requirements, priorities that we heard from community members at meetings or through focus groups, trends identified by staff through research and work groups, meetings with subject matter experts, requirements related to the consent decree, and published assessments from the consent decree independent monitor. We have also been asked if feedback from the district counselors was incorporated into the priorities. It was incorporated in several ways. Commissioners reviewed priorities that district counselors had proposed over the past several years through their annual priority setting proposal process, and information shared at district council quarterly meetings. Feedback from district councils was incorporated into almost all the priorities the Commission selected. Strategic priorities that reflect district council input include improving clearance rates, alternate response, officer wellness, immigration, and community policing.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Driver. So now I would like Commissioner Piemonte to review a few more questions.
Thank you, President Terry. We have been asked if the Commission will adopt a new set of strategic priorities every year. The Commission will look at a few things when considering whether to add new strategic priorities. It will evaluate whether the CPD Superintendent, COPA Chief Administrator, and Police Board President completed their annual goals and objectives related to current priorities. It will also look more broadly at the accountability and public safety landscape to see whether the current strategic priorities meet the most pressing challenges, or if the strategic priorities should be updated to reflect new challenges. The Commission will also analyze priorities recommended to the Commission through the District Council's Commission priorities process and priorities of individual commissioners. District councilors have also asked us what opportunities they will have to recommend strategic priorities that the Commission should adopt. Every year, district councilors play an important role in making recommendations about the Commission's strategic direction by going through a process and proposing priorities for the Commission. We're working to ensure that the District Council's annual process to propose priorities for the Commission is aligned with the Commission's process to set strategic priorities. That will ensure that District Councils can provide input at a time when the input could affect the Commission's review and planning. Another key question we have been asked is how the Commission will share its progress with these priorities. Transparency is critically important to the Commission. The Commission will report on progress at the Commission's monthly public meetings and provide quarterly updates on the strategic priorities on the Commission's website.
Thank you. Now we will turn it over to Commissioner Gottlieb to introduce our guest speaker for this evening.
Thank you, President Terry. We're happy to have Daisha Mohammed, Director of Mediation for the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, here today to talk about COPA's mediation program. Director Mohammed will give us an overview of how the mediation program works, including what types of allegations are allowed to go to mediation. She'll also tell us how people can access this program and how mediators will be selected from the community. Before we start, I want to thank the district counselors who have been part of the mediation working group and have worked to help shape this process. I would like to thank COPA, especially Director Mohammed, for collaborating on this issue. This program is being shaped with real community input, and now I would like to invite Director Mohammed to speak with us and to answer questions.
Check, check. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Commissioner Gottlieb. Thank you so much for having me here today. I've worked a lot with the commissioners and some of the DCs that are also here. I'll acknowledge them a little bit more formally. Also, the support of my chief, who was just recently confirmed into her position, who has been a great partner all along the way. So I wanted to come tonight to share with you about our community mediation program that we are gearing up to relaunch. As I'm talking about this program, it's three things that I kind of want you to remember as I'm speaking. Why mediation? Expedite the resolution of complaints, improve community police relations, and to build better understanding between the Chicago Police Department and the communities that they serve. This is a program that is required by the consent decree. It's 3 paragraphs. Right now, we have full compliance for the 511 paragraph, which regards community engagement, and I'll talk a little bit about how we got there. And we are moving our progress along for our second paragraph, which allows us to collaborate with the Bureau of Internal Affairs to create policy for this. So I'm really excited to talk to you about this. This is my jam. I know we've been talking about some heavy topics tonight, but this is a topic where we reimagine how we handle qualified complaint types. And just to give you an idea, COPA processes last year over 6,000 complaints. And the spectrum of what comes in is on the one end where a community member felt like the officer was rude to me. But then on the further end, you have complaints where it's maybe an officer involved shooting. So how we deal with these, how we look at them, how we investigate them, to have all the tools and resources that we need to be efficient and effective and expedient in processing these complaints is the key. And mediation is one of those tools that is going to give us an opportunity to not only deal with certain qualified complaint types using an alternative dispute resolution model, or ADR, but it also seeds a little bit of good faith in bringing a dialogue between community and police so that we can start to build back trust a little bit. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about it. First, I want to define what is mediation. Click it one more time, please. So overall, mediation is basically a process where two parties come together with a third party neutral individual who guides those those parties through a dialogue. And in most cases, it's with the hope of coming to some kind of resolution, but we'll talk about how the community police mediation is slightly different. But for the purposes of understanding about what mediation is, this is a definition for it. Show of hands, has anyone here participated in a mediation? One vote, two. Okay. Do we have any mediators here? Okay, all right. I was being hopeful. Okay, next slide, please. So what are the features of our community police mediation? One is non-disciplinary. That's a really important feature. So if it is a complaint that comes in that rises to the level that after a preliminary investigation, this will more properly be addressed through a disciplinary track, it will not come through the mediation. I'll tell you what the eligible complaint types are, but these are complaints that will be mediated versus going through the full investigative process. Another thing is voluntary. We do not force the parties to come into that room. The officer has to want to participate, and the community member has to want to participate in this process. So it's totally voluntary, and at any time, either party can withdraw from the mediation. And then next, neutral locations. We want to have mediations take place within the community, accessible to the community member, in a neutral space where both of the parties feel safe to have a real dialogue with one another. And I'll talk more about that. Lastly, Mediation has a element of confidentiality attached to it under Illinois compiled statutes. So I kind of look at it like the Las Vegas rule. What goes on in mediation stays in mediation, but hopefully the lessons learned can be taken outside of the room. Next slide, please. So what's eligible? So we have just a few. This isn't even a robust list, but we have a few complaint types that we will consider when we are screening to go through our mediation process. And some examples are perceived bias, harassment, failure to provide service, neglect of duty, discourteous treatment, unprofessionalism, unnecessary physical conduct, use of force that does not result in death or serious bodily injury are not otherwise eligible. Fourth Amendment violation complaints that are not otherwise ineligible. And then we sort of have a catch-all. If both parties decide we want to mediate this, our chief says it's appropriate, it does not have a negative impact on the operations or the professional image of the Chicago Police Department, we have a sort of catch-all where we can slot some complaint types into mediation. Now, the two that are in bolded text, those are the two complaint types that we added to the qualified complaint types that can go through mediation. Next slide. So I'm going to take a moment to go back, take a step back to bring us forward and do a little bit of a performance recap. Next slide. So the mediation program initially started in October of 2022, and it ran to December of 2023. It was a collaborative effort where it was the Mayor's Office of Community Safety, it was the BIA, it was also COPA, and then we had a third-party contracted vendor, the Center for Conflict Resolution, that allowed us to launch the pilot, and it went through 2 phases. Once the next slide. Once the pilot launched, the OIG did an audit of the pilot. And from that report, they gave us some really good recommendations for what to do to ensure there's longevity with this pilot, the things that they saw that could potentially need some additional edits or improvements to the program, along with staffing, as well as making sure that the program was viable to move forward. So I pulled for the recommendations that they had so that as the pilot was coming back online, we were making sure that we were incorporating the feedback from the Office of the Inspector General. We'll go to the next slide. So what happened in that short pilot? We saw upwards of 106 referrals. We had 15 mediations that actually were successfully done, and overall there was an 87% resolution rate. The complaint type that we saw most in all of the ones that came through for mediation was operational or personnel violations. So that was the snapshot of the first 2 phases of our pilot. Next slide. So what did we do? What did we learn? What direction did we decide that we wanted to go in as we are now moving forward to relaunch the mediation pilot? One thing is our partners. And I would say that we put together a mediation working group that is a partnership of district councils, commissioners, myself. We meet monthly, and we drill down on some of the hard work that has to happen in some of the decisions. And our district council partners, Beth is here. She's one of my very vocal ones at that. They bring forward, things that they want to elevate from the community. So her and her other colleagues from the district councils, they are bringing your feedback, your concerns, your input into those meetings for real decision-making and deliberation. Now, the staff from CCPSA, Julie is my ride or die in those meetings. She is always, on top of things. and Julio, he recently joined us, but very helpful. Honorable mention goes to Lauren and Anna. Anna was always very vocal. We lost her in the group, but she still was a really good partner with us. In addition to here locally, the BIA, the Bureau of Internal Affairs, we also meet with them. We collaborated with them around policy. We are going to meet with them in April to collaborate around the referral process so that we're a fine oil machine as we relaunch. We're all on the same page, moving in the same direction to make sure that this mediation program is successful. The last partner, one more, is I am a part of a community police mediation network that is composed of directors of mediation from cities that also have a community police mediation. So like some of the older models are San Francisco, they've been around for 20 years. DC, Los Angeles, and we all kind of come in and collectively talk about our programs so that we don't have a lag in, well, what's the best practices that are happening in New Orleans? We meet monthly and talk about those things. So all of these things are helping to build the framework for the success, because this is a collaborative process that we are building this mediation upon. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the community engagement. So last year, I took some time to put together the original policy that the mediation pilot was operating on and conducted several community conversations where we asked for the attendees to give us feedback and input on some of the policy modifications that were going to take place. We had district councils who hosted meetings for us. Sierra Whitaker, she's the district council down in District 6. She had us host a meeting down there with Zion Temple. They were a very strong partner in giving us feedback. Sam also attended one of our meetings. He spoke earlier. But this was really a collaborative effort to get us into the community. So they kind of convened folks in the community to give me feedback, and gave us the opportunity to really bring this policy to folks to give us real feedback that we could incorporate into the policy. From that engagement, we got a lot of input around what is a neutral location. Where would folks feel comfortable having this conversation? We got feedback on what this mediator should be. They gave us feedback on things around the timelines, and we took a lot of the common themes that was learned in those community conversations to implement them into the policy. Next slide, please. So now let me talk to you about the diamonds of this program, and really one of the larger reasons why I was really excited to talk to you tonight, and that is our community mediator search. So you can go to the next slide. So we are currently recruiting trained mediators. We need folks who have already completed that 40-hour basic mediator training and have already gotten about 200 hours, at least 200 hours of mediation experience. We want to train those folks in community police mediation so that they can hold these mediations. The way that we want to select our mediators is we are using the CPD area map so that we can find mediators from those areas so that they are in tune with the cultural identity of the area. They are in tune with some of the challenges and historical complications that have happened between community and police, but they are more grassroots folks that we feel like could help navigate those conversations a little bit better. So we're using the CPD area map. We're asking folks when they apply to identify where they live in the city of Chicago, so that we can better identify those folks. And then once we train them, to assign mediations to their area. That makes sense. Next slide. So what's the role of the community mediator? Basically, we want this person to be obviously a neutral third party. We need for them to be able to build trust, to be a strong person in that dynamic that can lead those two parties through a challenging conversation, right? I know when I have conversations with folks and I'm really certain on my point and they're really certain on on their point, and we come to an impasse and can't quite meet in the middle, a mediator is a trained professional to help folks have those difficult conversations. So we want this person to also be able to identify ways to address conflict, to be able to promote peaceful communication through mediation, but mostly navigate that dialogue in a way that is escalating tensions, but is amplifying what the two parties' desire is for that conversation. So if they want to come in and talk about the allegations of the complaint, they guide that process. So in that time, it's a useful dialogue. Next slide. So when we think about, okay, who do we want as mediators? And a lot of this came out of the input. One, we would prefer for these folks to be residents within the city of Chicago. We would prefer, we need them to have to come already trained with the basic 40-hour. We want them to have strong interpersonal communication skills, but also have the ability to be empathetic in those situations. Preferred qualifications, like I said, those 200 hours, but we also would love it if this person can already be attuned to and knowledgeable of CPD policies, so that if some of those areas where the conversation is going awry, they have some knowledge of CPD policy. And then experience working with diverse communities, law enforcement agencies using restorative justice practices for conflict resolution. I think that's another really strong qualification that we would like folks to have, as we not only have framed this mediation program around restorative justice principles, but also around procedural justice. So those are sort of the frame ideologies, and we would like our mediators to be knowledgeable about restorative justice practices. Next slide. So what skills, if you're wondering, if you think you have the chops for this, we want you to be able to do conflict de-escalation and negotiation, trauma-informed interviewing practices, active listening and emotional intelligence, problem solving and facilitation, relationship building and community outreach, and strong written and verbal communication. The written is because they will have to do some reporting up to COPA to let us know what the final outcome of the mediation is. So how can you apply? I brought QR codes, and if you'd like to go straight to these sites, you can either go straight to our community mediator interest form, and it's a few questions there where we're collecting some information. You can put your resume there. You can go straight to COPA mediation webpage on the COPA website, or you could just simply email at COPA mediation City of Chicago at cityofchicago.org. Any of those outlets, we will be able to capture your information and your interest of becoming a community mediator. And one thing that I'll say about those mediators really quickly, when the success of this program is going to hinge on the quality of the mediators that are in those rooms, allowing those parties to come to a resolution. We are not asking for folks to come to, some 6-point agreement. We just want them to have a better understanding of the other person's perspective. If they can go into that conversation, listen to each other's perspective, maybe develop an understanding there. That's mainly the goal. We can't ask them to just agree on everything, but we can ask that they take a moment to try to hear the other person's perspective. So that's really the goal. And a person who is artful at navigating a conversation like that and bringing those parties out of that situation, feeling a sense of resolve, feeling a sense of I've been heard, feeling a sense of I understand a little bit better why that officer acted in the way that they acted. But it also gives police officers an opportunity to check. Okay. Is this better? But it also gives the officer an opportunity to talk to the community and have that time, because often officers will say, I just don't have time to fully explain everything that's going on. I really didn't have time, or this was the worst day in that person's life. So really having the time to communicate with community, we're hoping that those small conversations begin to build trust, to begin to improve community police relationships, and then overall to help improve upon community safety with a really simple concept like a mediation. Really tiny, small wins that we're hoping to have an overall impact in police community relations. So what's next? We are, as I said, recruiting mediators. We're looking for folks to come and join us and join our cadre of mediators. We have a community police mediation training that is scheduled for mid-May once we have those folks identified. And then we would like to move on to retaking complaints for mediation and scheduling mediations by the summer of this year. Once we have everybody onboarded, trained, and ready to go, it will happen this year. So I'm really excited about it. It gives us yet another tool in our toolbox to start to connect the dots, to start to improve upon some of the challenges that we're having. And this is a consent decree mandate. So whereas we have to do it, I think even listening to legacy programs that have been around for 20 years, this is a useful concept that will prove to resolve certain complaint types in a way that both parties come away from the table feeling a sense of better understanding, communication, and being transparent and accountable. So I think that's my last slide. Any questions?
Thank you. Oh, excuse me.
No.
Yes, that was not a question for the public. It was to the commissioners. Thank you. Commissioners, do you all have any questions? Commissioner Piamonte?
Thank you. That was really nice.
Thank you.
I know you talked about what types of cases would be eligible, but who makes that decision?
Thank you. That's a really good question. So when complaints come through to COPA, our intake, we have our intake department that will screen these referrals. Once they have identified one that meets one of those complaint type categories, we do a preliminary review just to make sure it is appropriate for mediation, the officer's identified, it would benefit from a dialogue. So it does go through a preliminary investigation before it is advances on to be scheduled for mediation. So we do look at them. They're not just like, okay, well, this is good for mediation. If there's something about the case that, no, this would be more appropriate on the disciplinary track, it will go through the normal investigation process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then once you go through mediation and you have a resolution, who monitors or follows up to make sure that it's on its path?
That would be me.
All right.
So the director of mediation role was really created so that there was a point person, because this was this collaborative team effort. It really needed to be one person who was kind of managing it. So COPA created the position and I came on board, and then we have a case liaison, Pam, who is my rock in that office. So we're a mighty team of two. But once once the mediators return the mediation outcome form, which basically says what happened at the mediation, but not the notes of what happened inside of the mediation, then I close the case. Then the case that will come back to me, and then we will close the case out as mediated with no further investigation.
Thank you, Commissioner Gottlieb.
Thank you. And thank you for your presentation today and for speaking with us. I appreciate it. So, I mean, you mentioned this, but I think it's important actually to just be super clear. So what happens, so if a mediation is successful, what is the impact on an officer's disciplinary record?
Well, so the complaint will close out and it will not stay on their record as a discipline. So it'll just close out.
Are there any rules for how frequently the same officer can go through a mediation process?
Very good question. So we do look at the officer's complaint history. They cannot have two similar complaints in a 12-month cycle. So if they've done this 2 or 3 other times before, that would rule them out as eligible for being for participating in mediation.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. So I do have probably a couple of questions.
Okay.
One is, what is essentially the strategy really to implore people to take advantage of this opportunity? Because you're going to have two very unique audiences that you're looking to engage. So what is going to be the strategy to show people the benefit of taking advantage of this opportunity?
Thank you. That's a really good question. I like the opportunity to come out and talk to the community. I like coming to community meetings. That was one of the purposes of working with some of the district councils to get out to their monthly meetings. I think it is important to utilize the accountability frame because Chicago has a really comprehensive accountability frame. So being able to connect the dots and using some of these outlets to say, hey, look at some of the other things that are going on. I like the opportunity to go to district council monthly meetings. COPA has a community engagement staff. We've been going out to job fairs. I also go to CPD, their cadet academies and promotional classes and talk to them. But I think the key to really helping the general community understand what mediation is to continue to do appearances like this at community and to really uplift the benefit of an alternative dispute resolution tool for qualified complaints. Because if a complaint just closes and a person doesn't feel resolved, like, well, what happened to my complaint? You know, it just falls short. Some of these complaints can go through a process where they can get at least the resolve of having that dialogue with that officer. And to your point, to really help the public understand the benefit of a program like that is for me to kind of come out into the community, to do our promotions on the socials, to use our different partners to really amplify that mediation is out there. Here is the point of it, and here is the benefit of it.
Thank you. And so another question that I have that's related to that, what have you seen in other places where they have these sorts of programs? What has been the things that they've said, the methods that they've leveraged that have been successful for their program that you are, you know, learning from and planning to implement related to this process?
Yeah, thank you. So I would say Los Angeles and New Orleans have two of the models that I think are stellar when it comes to community engagement. New Orleans recruits straight out of the community, and they do their training. They do the basic training and the community police training. And they really utilize their community to step up to be community mediators. And Los Angeles also does a similar approach to getting out and doing a lot of community engagement and connecting with folks to say, hey, this is a benefit, this is out there. Because what I'm hearing is, one, mediation programs don't do a ton of numbers. Like, there's no one agency that's done 100 in a year. I would say the only person that was the only agency that has done really high numbers, in my opinion, is DC Metro. And that's because it's non-voluntary. They compel their officers to participate. So, you know, yes, they will have higher numbers. And another thing that's unique is COPA is the only agency where we're going to have the authority to say what goes into mediation. Those other programs are basically sent the referrals from the law enforcement agency. So we'll have the final say what gets mediated, and we can also have some controls over the quality of the program. And it's not just more or less given to us by our police department to say, mediate this and let us know what happened. We are in full control of this.
Thank you. And one final question that I have, because I know that you highlighted what the requirements are for mediators, but to individuals who may be interested in this, how can they find this information? If you don't have it immediately right now, that's fine. But I guess the other part, if you can't communicate that at this moment, will you all be hosting information for people who are interested in meeting the qualifications of mediation and knowing where to go? Bless you. Before they apply.
Yes. So if can you go back to the email? If you are interested, I don't want to big up anyone place's program. If you are interested in learning more about where you can do the basic 40-hour mediation, please email me. If you are interested in spaces where they are offering financial assistance, because sometimes these programs can be expensive, but there are spaces where they offer financial assistance for folks to attend a mediation program. So if someone is interested, they want to be connected, please reach out, email me, and I will connect you to the resources that I have available.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here. Please give her a round of applause because that was a very helpful presentation. Thank you, Director.
Thank you,
Muhammad.
everyone. I'm sorry, they asked the $1 million question that I do want to answer. So the question is around pay. I will say this is a role that is a very needed civic service. Okay? I'm gonna start with that. We need you to step up and be a good citizen to be a mediator. There will be a stipend. It is a $250 per diem stipend that we will offer, and we promise we won't work you 40 hours for the $250, but right now that is the stipend that we can offer. We did not want to go by way of voluntary mediators, which is what we saw in the pilot. We felt like folks should be compensated for their time. So yes, there will be a stipend.
Thank you. Thank you for asking that question, Commissioner Ghali. Thank you again, Director Muhammad. We truly appreciate you being here. So we will now move to adjournment. To connect with the commission on social media, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Chicago CCPSA/. On Instagram and Twitter, we're at CCPSA_Chicago. And on YouTube, we're at Chicago CCPSA. The commission's next meeting will be a special meeting next Thursday, April 2nd, at Thomas Kelly College Prep High School at 4136 California. The commission's next regular meeting will be Thursday, April 30th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. at DePaul College Prep at 3300 North Campbell. Thank you all again for joining us tonight. We hope to see you at our meetings in April, and we hope you'll stay engaged and encourage people you know to join us in this work.